Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Unwelcome Podcast. I have to say, I am beyond humbled. Before I welcome my esteemed guest, who I know is going to give me a nice lashing, but I am beyond humbled for the outpouring of support, the subscribers, the likes to this, the likes to everything. I just got monetized at 3 p.m. this afternoon. So it is a humbling experience. My cup runneth over, so to speak. But I'm really I can't express my gratitude. But I'll try by welcoming my guest, the esteemed, the wonderful, the gay against groomer himself, Mike Harlow. Thanks for being here, Mike. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, my love. I'm excited. I'm honored. I get to be your first monetized guest. I'm sure just like having my name on here will demonetize you immediately, so you might have not picked the I'm finally monetized. I'm gonna have this asshole.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of what I was counting on. If I kept expectations low, for the money at the beginning, and but no. I do have to say the reason why. First of all, the reason why I brought Mike here is because we had a Twitter spat today. And
we're in a feud. We're in a fight.
We're in a feud, and I think I'm canceled. Mike was already canceled, so I think you have to be a knight to knight a knight, I think is what it is. So I'm officially canceled. You're canceled. We're all canceled, right?
Well, I live on the shit list, so just welcome to my home.
Yeah. So everybody knows, and I wanted to actually talk to Mike about this a little bit because I think Twitter is a wasteland. It's a shit pot. It actually will make you fight over things that you don't necessarily need to fight about. But I kind of did a hot take post that I knew was going to get some ire because I put some very esteemed people whom I respect in the post and kind of jabbed at them a little bit. And the reason why I did that, just so let me explain. I made a post, and I should have brought it up. If I'd have been smarter, I would have done that. But basically what it said was that Colin Wright, who I absolutely respect, amazing work in the areas that he's an evolutionary biologist. He's incredibly intelligent. He says incisive things. He has a lot to offer. And then the Gays Against Gr00mers account, both after they were banned, because they weren't banned. Now they're back.
What's these?
Well, they're not banned. They're still right.
Well, they were banned, and now they're banned. Okay, but they were banned with no.
But here's the thing: there's banned, and then there's like banned, right? Because James Lindsay is banned, like right. He's gone. Right?
Well, they were too. They just undid it quicker. Like me, I've been permanently banned from Twitter 4 times, I think, and the last one lasted like 2 years, and then once Elon Musk started saying stuff, they unbanned it.
Oh, okay. Well,
so I was banned without these.
Right, you were banned.
And now I guess I'm banned because I'm on there.
Right, I guess. But that's my point, is that both of them were banned. And Gays Against Gr00mers has been banned, I don't know, 3 times so far. Like every time I wake up, they're banned. Right?
I'm shocked they're still on there. I don't know how the
hell. Well, I think it's because Twitter knows if they do it, they're going to be called homophobic, and rightfully so. Right? I mean, every time they ban Gays Against Gr00mers, I'm like, Twitter, why are you homophobic? Like, I mean, honestly, like, if you are you more concerned about
James' ethnicity? Does he have any card to play?
I don't think so. See, that's the problem. And here's the thing, James.
Like, I've got a lazy eye. You're ableist.
Oh yeah,
right. Or a gimpy leg. I don't know. Fake it.
Well, and I think he could. He could shave the beard and do the I'm non-binary thing. But don't you just have to just like say it?
Yeah. Hey, now I just decided. I'm a they that I just decided right now.
I declare non-binary, right? Just like The Office, right? But my issue, the reason why I made the post was because Gays Against Gr00mers and Colin Wright both got banned, and then they got asked to come on Tucker Carlson, like in quick succession, which is great for them. I think they deserve to be there. We need to shine a light on it as much as we possibly can. But it irked me a little bit because James, who is still banned, who has not risen from Twitter grave, okay, was not asked to come on Tucker Carlson. And James is a friend of mine, and I will say this. The reason why I have such a following now on this channel and really on Twitter too is because this is the house that James built. Like, James mentioned my name and channel in a video on Timcast, I don't know, a week and a half ago. No, it was Friday, wasn't it? So it was not this Friday or the last Friday. I don't know. It seems like forever ago. But as soon as he did that, my channel exploded. Like, it was like, people started coming and watching his video, and they watched other videos, and I got a shit ton of subscribers from it. But my point of this is that James has helped out a lot of people like that, and I think he has an enormous amount to say about this subject. And the point I did make that I think was meant to catch some ire. It was meant to catch people's attention. I was jabbing a little bit. Is that a lot of people? Well, yes, but you know.
I am not at all. I would know nothing.
Yeah,
about
exactly. And that's was kind of my retort to Mike was, hey, how do you get attention on Twitter? You start a little ruckus, right? And nobody is.
I wake up in the morning and there's ruckus. I don't know. I don't.
Well, some of us don't have to try, but some of us do. Okay, so my little jab at the end was a lot of what they say now. What these two what Gays Against Gr00mers, because it is Gays Against Gr00mers, right? Which didn't exist until that account didn't exist until June 2022. James was saying that he was starting to use that word about these people on the regular, and it is the reason he got banned, right? So, I mean, except that he changed it at the end, and they still banned him. So, my only point was
they invent rules to ban people,
right. And that's what they did. So, my only point is that I want to see these people who have risen from the Twitter grave, like Colin Wright, who's very respected, like Gays Against Gr00mers, who's getting tons of deserved traffic for what they're doing. And because I think the more intersectional you are, the harder they are on you when you come out, so to speak, when you come out of the I'm against this, right? And so my only real point was, hey, shout out James. Let's keep that alive, because he's still in the nether regions, and he needs to be brought out, and he needs to be brought on Tucker Carlson, damn it.
Hell yeah. But with that, I don't know, maybe it's just me personally. I have such below zero expectations for friggin' Fox News. Like, of course they're not going to have him on. He's too good for, of course they're not going to have him on. I'm shocked that they had Jamie on. I'm shocked they had Colin on, which is good, I guess. I think Tucker is the one that's better. So I don't know why. I mean, just as an example, look at how, they've handled so many of the January 6th defendants. People are just rotting in prison with no charges. They don't say anything about it. This is the conservative network. So I just don't expect much from them. They should have him on. They should have him everywhere. But
yes, and here's the thing. I think what it was, if you've been following James for a while, I mean, I've been on Twitter, I think since early 2020, early or late 2019, is that he slowly became kind of a pariah. And all of a sudden, then what he would say would come true. And then he would kind of, rise out of pariah status. And then all of a sudden it would be, oh, well, you're being too hyperbolic, or you're mocking them too much. And I think what Mike exactly.
What are you implying, that these are ridiculous people or something?
Yeah. But that's my point, is that he was one of the first big accounts. Okay. And Mike rightfully set me right. And I'll admit when I was wrong, that Mike showed me a video of him calling out these Gr00mers, what was it, 3 years ago, right? You were talking about this 3 years ago, and I wasn't taking anything away from Mike. I'm not taking anything away from Colin or anything away from Gays Against Gr00mers. It was really a mechanism to grab a point and say, hey, you all who are bigger than us, you guys who have 100,000 followers, who
got me,
right? It's not me either, right? But you all who have that kind of traffic, drop a tweet a day.
Hell yeah.
You know what I mean? And call up Tucker and be like, hey, why don't you have James Lindsay on? I mean, they had you on.
Oh yeah, I'll send him some dick pics when we and
no, not you, but I'm talking about Colin and Gays Against Gr00mers, who have risen from the dead, so to speak. And so,
no, I'll say I have a lot of friends who deserve to be on that they don't. You know, I think what it is, and I think especially the reason James got a lot of this is coming from academia. These people are so, I call them appropriacons. These people, the conservatives who are so obsessed with being so appropriate all times. These people would rather watch the country burn, have the Constitution go up in flames, than ever be disinvited to a dinner party or say words that might ire someone. It's ridiculous.
Right.
So I think they labeled him one of the inappropriates, which is ridiculous.
And I think that all stemmed, from the grievance studies affair at the beginning, but it also just, there was this kind of, when he said he was going to vote for Trump, it's like the middle right, the unwoke left was kind of like,
they're not, that pisses me off more than anyone. They're not unwoke anything. It's ridiculous. Yeah. It's like, they're almost worse than anyone else because at least leftists actually believe, or some of them actually believe what they're saying. But these people, it's like you see a clear problem, you understand how insidious it is, and you vote for the people perpetrating it. It just makes no sense to me. Well, it's all about social pressure. It's all about they want to sit at the good people table. It's all just classic in-group, out-group mentality. They don't want to be part of the bad people, the out-group, and that's their way to signal submission to the in-group.
Right. Well, and I think James was one of the first IDW people to kind of switch sides, because James is a liberal.
Speaking of appropriates.
Yeah, right. But right, we can go into, the mess that was just recently with, oh God, I just what's his name? He was in the IDW that just made the crazy comments on trigonometry.
Sam Harris. Oh,
yeah, Sam Harris.
Yeah, he's like, holy
God! It's like, if you're supposed to be on the liberal side of things, and you claim to be a classical liberal, and you justify censorship in the name of the asteroid that was Trump. I think they've gone around the bend. And my point is that James was calling that stuff out even before it's become more in vogue now. Even you see Bill Maher jumping on, and calling out the people on his show saying, they held the Hunter Biden laptop to influence the election, and you can't admit it. You know what I mean? Yeah. That you just can't admit it. And so they've gone around the bend, and I just am an advocate for James because I know how much. Yeah. First of all, he was an advocate for me when I didn't have any kind of following at all. He's helped me gather one so I can have enough of a voice to defend myself. That's the other thing, because I'm out here in the red state of Oklahoma, right? And you wouldn't think it would be woke. Well, no. I mean, I'm in the People's Republic of Norman, okay, which is the OU's college town. And we're the only town to defund the police in all of Oklahoma. And,
Oklahoma?
Yes, sir. Oh, man, I might pull it up here, but we had a teacher that just quit on the first day of school. She quit on the first day of school. So they banned some books, the porn books. And when I say ban them, the state superintendent who's running for governor as a Democrat came out. She was pushed by the Secretary of Education, the Republican Secretary of Education, but to get these pornography out of school. Like, just, hey, she said, take those porn books out of school. Well, this teacher who she's an activist, on the first day shares a link to the books with her students in the classroom. Okay. This is right here in the middle of Oklahoma. And she ended up saying that they fired her when they didn't. She said they put her on leave when they didn't. And then when finally they worked all that out, she said, oh, I'm just going to resign. And now she's walking around saying, I quit because they banned books. And it's
let me guess, it's 17 GoFundMes.
Oh, I'm sure. Yes, exactly. And it's, I would do it again. I would share links to pornography with my students again. That's what I would do, and as somebody who's taught, I'm just like, I can't even wrap my brain around saying that in public, which gets me my first question to you, Mike. What possessed you? I mean, you're going completely against the grain. You are gay. You are part of the LGBTQ plus IA 382 committee, or is it committee or is it commissar? I can't remember.
The community.
The community.
Don't you feel all that love and acceptance?
I do.
Tolerance.
Why are you so hateful?
I can't stand these people. Wait, one sec. Before we go on to that, I just want to say I completely 150,000% agree with you on James. The only thing is you were being a little bit of a bitch.
Oh yeah, let you come back at me.
Yeah, I don't want to like.
I'm sorry.
I don't think you get the wrong idea.
No, lob back at me. I'm sorry. Let me give you. We'll hold that question for a second.
We'll get to those bitches in a minute.
First of all, give me the canceling I deserve.
I completely agree with you on James. Obviously, like you need to join the Breakfast Club that we're in. I don't know if you've seen our beautiful picture. We're in the Breakfast Club.
Oh yes, yes, I did.
So yeah, no. The other thing you were being a bitch is like saying, "Oh, they're just saying what he's saying." Because I was like, "Well, nobody listens to what I'm saying, but I've been saying this shit for years." Like Blair's been talking about this a long time. So like, I feel like I'm not saying you, but I feel like some people occasionally want everyone to sort of go after the woke left in the same way. Yeah. And I feel like it's our strength that we all have different ways. It's sort of like what are they called? What are they called? The Justice League?
Oh, yeah, I guess. So Marvel,
it's like the Justice League. Like, we all have our different strengths. You wouldn't ask Aquaman to climb buildings. You wouldn't ask Spider-Man to go in the water. So I feel like that's kind of a good thing that we have different people who are, some are academic types, some are inappropriate types, some are, lippy bitches like me. I don't know. But
yes,
I think that's a good thing.
No, and I do too. And again, I was provocative on purpose, and because it's so easy to forget on Twitter. You know what I mean? That's the thing. It moves so fast, and I mean, I know that there's part of James that doesn't even want to come back, but he should have the option to, because he did nothing worse than Gays Against Gr00mers or Colin. You know what I mean? But they're not offering him that, and I don't know what mechanisms he's doing to bring him back. I know he's filed, complaints and things like that, but I just don't want people to forget, because he's been a warrior out there, and oftentimes when others people wouldn't, and he's called stuff that people wouldn't dare to bring up. And again, Colin, if you happen to see this, Jesse from Gays Against Gr00mers, you have to happen to see this. Say again.
I'll tell them.
Yes, and tell them that I was being an asshole on purpose, and it wasn't.
I didn't mean that part. I meant I tell them we gotta do whatever we can for James.
Yes.
I think it's that he's kind of like at such a, I don't know. I feel like when you fly too close to the sun for these people, that's when they get you.
Right. Well, and he's bigger. I mean, he had 320,000 followers at the time, and so it's difficult to tamp down that narrative. You just reach, I think even if you put the throttle button on it, you just don't have enough throttle to keep him back. And that's what I think the OK Groomer thing got him in trouble for, is because one, it hit too close to home. It was too pithy. It was too on the nose.
Yeah.
Right. And it called them out for what it was. And he was too big. He was too big to fail. So to speak.
And I think I'll guarantee you, I haven't talked to him since this happened, but I guarantee you something he's probably experiencing, unfortunately, is what I definitely very much experienced the first time I was banned, is that there are probably people, there are people who do this, you think are your friends, and the moment you're banned, you suddenly they don't take your calls anymore. They don't. People kind of have a way of disconnecting once you're marked as one of the bad people. So it is so crucial, I really think, for all of us to support each other. I mean, we have to withstand bullshit from every single entity. If we don't support each other, we have no chance. So I feel like if these people don't think that they will eventually be one of the bad people, we were told initially, oh, it's just Alex Jones, it's just Mile, and now it's James Lindsay. Now it's totally reasonable people.
And Libs of TikTok.
I've been banned 19 times across platforms. I've beat 17 of them. I feel like I'm going to toot my own horn. I feel like I have the record for having beaten the most bans.
That's amazing.
Permanent bans.
I'm going to find something to send you. Like for some kind of trophy you deserve. You know how YouTube will give you when you reach 100,000 or whatever, they give you that big old trophy or whatever. Like you deserve one of those for bans.
I got my 19th permanent ban yesterday. I was on TikTok. I've beaten every single one of them except TikTok, which I don't really care about. So
China.
Yeah, I don't know what to do about TikTok. Like,
hold on, I want to throw this up here. Sophia, who's a good friend of mine, she says that we totally lost connection for a bit. So I don't know why. Really sorry. Let us know if we go down again. Also I have super chats. I've never done a super
chats now.
Right, I have super chats. It's the first time. I don't know how to work them. If you throw one up, you can. Yeah, so just please super chat if you can see that. If you can't see that, tell me, so I know what I need to do to fix it or whatever. But yes, super chat if you want to. Super chat if you don't want to. That's what I say. I'll probably get more that way. But yes, I totally agree with you. We need to help each other, and I think I feel a little bit of safety in the fact that I don't have quite a big enough following to hurt Colin or Gays Against Gr00mers. And there's part of me that knows that. The only people that really saw it are the people that I wanted to see it, right? In terms of the people in our group. And I will mea culpa that maybe I shouldn't do that without warning. But I just wanted to nudge a little bit. And I view myself as a gadfly on all sides. And I love Colin and I love Gays Against Gr00mers. So that is my story. That is my statement. And I love James. And that's where we are. But
he's a great person. I didn't know if I would like him when I initially met him because I was like, he's so popular. He's got to be a douche. He is freaking awesome.
Yes. Well, he's super down to earth
person.
For being as incredibly intelligent as he is, you know what I mean? It's like you can talk to him, which is not normal for somebody that intelligent. Yeah. And he has no presumption. Because I was nervous to meet him the first time. I brought him into Oklahoma and all this stuff. I was nervous to meet him, but I walked up and he's wearing a suit jacket, but he's wearing his Keds. And I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. You know what I mean? And he's just a very unassuming guy. And the good thing about him,
people's academic.
Yes, that's a good way to put it. I think if he were on Twitter still, he would put that as his handle there, in the back. But
We're getting that account back.
That's what I'm saying. Even if he doesn't want it, you know what I mean? Yeah, just leave it there and use it whenever you want to. But what he did do, and this will be the last, and we can move on from it because this isn't a James love session. I'm not a James worshiper. He's just a friend of mine. And I've seen so much. He reaches down and grabs people and helps give them a voice in ways that other people that large won't do or don't have the time to do or don't have the wherewithal to do. And that's what I appreciate.
That's what's unfortunate, by the way. I hadn't really thought of this until you just mentioned it, but kind of every person like that who I know that really helps people who are less known than them, those are always the ones who get screwed over. Those are always the ones that get no help from anyone.
Okay, here, hold on just a second. Yes, I agree with that, but I officially have gotten my first super chat from Sophia. I don't know how to click on it. Hold on. Showing it. Sophia for $5. Great show. Here you go. Thank you. Adrian, thank you so much. I have officially made money doing YouTube. My wife now can't hold me back from doing any more. Not that she would. But
when is she
due? Oh, yes, she's due in January. I'm going to be the papa. Yeah, and so it's really exciting. I'm really scared because of what we're about to go into. Thank you, Sophia. Thank you, Adrian, for all that you do. And if you go look at her channel, I want to point this out. Keeping this up. Look her up, Sophia on YouTube. Go subscribe to her channel. She does amazing work. She's an actual scientist. With a real doctorate, and she gives some of the best incisive look into some of the manipulations that go on in academia and especially in science. So go subscribe to her channel. Thank you, Sia. Yes, do that. Do it right now. You get a reprieve. Even if you want to leave this cast to go do it, you may do that. So let it be written. So let it be done. Oh my gosh, I'm getting another one. I just got another one. Hold on.
Hey,
Chris Rowland. I don't know you, I don't think, or maybe I do.
I do. I love him.
Okay. Thank you, Chris, for $2. He says, here's your second super chat. Thanks for having Mike. Of course, I've wanted Mike. I've tried to be super buttoned up and very, very, very stiff and interview very intelligent people who are way smarter than me. But I've always wanted to have Mike. Yes. Well, and here's the thing. Mike's incredibly intelligent. And here's the thing, and I've watched you, going through Twitter and through YouTube, through TikTok, and you are very much the model for what it takes, kind of like James is, but in a different way. You know, you're climbing the wall where he's swimming in the ocean, right? Where you just what is it you did the other day where you were mocking that guy, where you were saying you were
Jeffrey Marsh.
Oh my gosh, it was perfect. It was perfect. I need to find it. If you can actually pull it up somewhere and send it to me, I'll show it on here because it was absolutely perfect. Because you were saying the same things that he was saying. And this is a non-binary, I think, TikToker, Facebooker, YouTuber.
Like a million something.
Yeah, I mean, very popular. And he says everything in a very nice way. And he's got an endearing kind of deceptive personality, but the way Mike grabbed what he was saying and put it in the correct context, I was incredibly impressed because that's not something everyone can do. And so everybody needs to follow Mike too, by the way, his YouTube channel, his link tree's in here, and follow him everywhere on Twitter. But if we can find that video, I think I'll pull it up and show it because it was a master class.
I did 2 on him. I don't know which one you mean. Let me find
the one. Did you do? Were they both the same format? I only saw
basically.
Okay, where he's just repeating what he's saying. And this is the kind of thing that I think is exceptional that we can do that doesn't do all the headier stuff like James may do. You know what I mean? Or that Colin does, or that, you know, where you just show them for what they are in the most brazen form, and how there is, hold on, see if I can pull this up and share it. So just explain what you're doing here, Mike, while I'm getting this pulled up. So they have the context.
So this guy, Jeffrey Marsh, I'm working on doing some other people like this too, but this guy, I think, is just the most insidious of all of them. I mean, every post that he makes, every video, there's always 2 consistent messages. One is for kids. His audience is clearly like young children. In some videos, he's even like telling little knock-knock jokes for children. So the ones that aren't about gender and sexuality and all this stuff for kids, the rest of them are always about mom and dad are bad people. Mom and dad are people. Go no contact with them. It's a bad, and he doesn't even tell them, like, because, you know, sure, some people have been abused, whatever, but he doesn't say if your parents are abusive. Your parents are abusive. They treated you poorly. They did this. They did that. It is such blatant cult mentality. So I think sometimes kind of people see the, I don't know, the makeup and the shiny clothes, and they don't really listen to what's actually being said. So I kind of try to like peel that back a little bit.
Okay. Well, let's watch it. Let's watch it because I think I thought it was masterful because, first of all, and don't take this the wrong way, you kind of look like him. So that helps.
How dare you?
Hold on. Let me couch that. You're much better looking, and you look like a man. But it's you pick up his mannerisms. You pick up his. I've worked in musical theater a lot, right? I'm a classical conductor, so I conduct pits for orchestras and choirs and things like that. So my whole life has been in the arts around, you know, a lot of gay men and a lot of gay people, and but also just a lot of performers who are good performers. So I know what good performance is like. And you hit him spot on just in his mannerisms and the way he talked.
Thank you.
And that's what makes this so effective too, because not only what you're saying, you flip it just enough to reveal the deception, to reveal the evil behind it of what this kind of person. Let's just watch it from. We have to take this.
Thank you.
I want to talk to the kids. Parents, watch the video.
Oh, are we getting a bit of an echo? Can you let me mute you for a second? I think it's coming from your side. Let me mute you for a second.
I want to talk to the kids. Parents, watch the video and then hand the phone over to the young kids. Hi there. I get asked a lot, are you a boy or a girl? And I love that question. And so I wanted to just tell you, sometimes human beings are more than boy or girl. Sometimes we're both. Sometimes we kind of float in between. Sometimes we're boys, sometimes we're a girl. Because human beings are creatures. We're wild and exciting. But I want to ask you a favor. If you see a kid like me, or an adult like me, would you be extra nice to them?
Would you do me a favor and be very, very kind?
Yeah, like anybody, we can get lonely. And so, if you're kind to us, it would be really important. So remember, kids, only you can make 45-year-old men feel less lonely. Now remember, Aunt Jeffrey says that when Mom and Dad leave the room, that's a good time to be extra nice to us, kids.
You're muted.
It was super spooky. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
It's super spooky, but it's so on point. It's so on point. And that's not even the one I was talking about. I'm going to pull up the other one that you sent. Let me make sure. Let me pull this up real quick because I think it's the same one. No, this is the one. This is the one I saw that just, because that one was good, but this one is better. This one is better. Hold on. I'm going to pull it down. And I'm very slow at this, guys. I'm working off one screen because I am poor. But yes. But now I got to share it. Here we go. We're going to do it. I promise I will. I'm going to do it. This one legitimately freaked me out. This one. Yes.
Yeah, I got like one tweet with that one that said I wasn't creepy enough, and I took that to heart. I was like,
okay, so this is the second one.
Again.
Okay, this is the second one. Okay, here we go. Get ready, folks, because this is like, I don't know, Nightmare on Elm Street or something. It should be, though. That's the thing. It should be, and it's so effective. Hold on, let me push play.
Your parents made mistakes. It's okay to say that. You can say they're good people, whatever, but you can also say that they did cruel and awful things, selfish things. You deserve peace from that, which is why you should do my workshop on Saturday about healing childhood trauma. You can't heal without an example, being surrounded by other people doing the same healing. And who is a better example than me? So what did we learn today, kids? Mom and Dad are selfish. Mom and Dad are abusive. Mom and Dad are no Mom and Dad at all. The only family you need, kids, is Aunt Jeffrey. Join us.
Oh, and it's perfect. It was just like, beep. That's perfect. Again, so I just have to. That is amazing. I'm saying that in both the performance of it, right? The performance of it was perfect. It was spot on. And I'm a director. I'm a doctor of music. Okay, I'm a doctor. But I always in parentheses of music. So, but I've seen tons of performances. And what makes an effective performance is when you can see the reality in it. And what you hit at the very end of this, so I'm going to take it back and make the serious point, is that they want to take kids from their families.
This guy, just look at anything he posts. It is outright telling kids, go no contact. it's insane. Just today he was posting something about you were treated horribly by your parents. You were treated horribly as a kid. It's not, and because sometimes people try to justify it by saying, "Oh, well, people." Oh my God, Therese, that's the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me.
I just wanted to show that because
you do. I'd love that.
Yeah.
But yeah, sometimes people try to justify that by saying like, "Oh, some people were abused." It's like, yeah, but he's not saying those people. He's saying you are. You should go no contact. It's so, and the thing is, this is just one person, but like, can you imagine that when he says parents hand the phone to the kids, that there are people who then do that?
Right. Well, and that's what we're going to get into in the next part of the show. But there's a moral virtue that they must hand in order to be inclusive. They must give up their children. They must sacrifice them at the altar of Jeffrey. Right. I mean,
and they are.
Yes. And it's like, oh, sure. Here, just here you go. Here's my kid, and because I want my kid to be a good person. It's the new church. You know what I mean? It's the new church. And to have somebody like that, who with 1 million or more followers, right, just reach through the phone and just say, this is what you need. Go no contact. And here's the thing, after having taught, especially teenagers, but younger teenagers in middle school and things like that, the impressionable part of their brain is just like a sponge. For an example, I always say this, but girls, especially at that age, if they have one of their friends who's bulimic, right, you'll end up having kind of a pod, right? Now, and I don't believe, first of all, that being gay or straight, I think that is, I'm straight and I know I can't choose it. So that's my,
I wish. People who say it's a choice, I'm like, if from your lips to God's ears, because these people are miserable. Every date I have, I'm like, oh, why can't it be a choice? I wish you were right.
Yeah. But
when you get them at that age, it's different. And I think that goes to show why there is such a focus on gender, especially because I think, I don't think they would have the same luck, or it would be as widespread if it was just focusing on sexuality, especially what do kindergartners care about sexuality? And it's something that's so personal that it would be in conflict with sort of their natural feelings once they grow up. But everybody has a gender, so it allows this multi-billion-dollar industry that is in cahoots with the government, with every government, every corporation, every entity, to cast a much wider net and be more successful.
And I wanted to highlight what Chris Rowland here said, because I think this is what I actually focus on a lot in my podcast. DEI is the new church. And it links together the religious, the government, and the professional as a state religion, right? And because it's all pushing every entity in our culture in the same direction, by the same morals, by the same principles. That is it's a hacking of the separation of church and state. And you can actually go back and say that separation of church and state isn't actually in the statutes, but it was always understood that you were not going to have a state religion. Yeah. And this is a hacking of that.
No, and I think it kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier, that some of these parents, they're willing to give up their own kids. They're willing to do anything just to show submission to this cult. That's exactly what it is. If you look at the BITE model of cult prevention, that's exactly what this is. That shows every single warning sign of a cult. So I always say, I'm like, sometimes people ask me, what can I do to fight these people? And, by all means, if you're somebody who has resources, money, can file lawsuits, great. But more simple than that, the one thing that people can do is so simple and so important. Say no. Yes. That's it. That is what has gotten us into this, because I truly believe that it is not most people who are on board with this. I cannot imagine that most people are okay with double mastectomies for 12-year-olds and hormones for 10-year-olds, and you have them talking about openly gay 3-year-olds, and I can't imagine that most people are okay with that. But most people are willing to go along with it, and that's the problem. And that's in relation to all our problems, everything that's happened with COVID, with the mandates, with the masks, if every single person, just the people who voted for Trump alone, and forget everyone outside of that, if just those people would have said, nope, absolutely not, not happening, it would be done with by now. I always say the problem isn't cancel culture, it's coward culture, it's compliance culture. That is what compliance is, what has brought us here, and non-compliance and mass needs to be what gets us out.
Well, and the inverse of this is the actual proof of it, because what happened after 2020, and I was in the college, I was in the university watching this happen in real time, right? And what happened right after George Floyd, right? So you had COVID, which freaked everyone out, right? And then you had George Floyd, and everybody was segregated, right? But there was a whole lead up to this, by the way. There was kind of the woke left and their 5 to 10% of really engaged activists were being as loud as possible. So they're like a peacock, like making themselves look huge, right? And they cudgeled the people in power to say, well, we don't want to be racist, we don't. So they just gave in and they took the poison pill. And so when it's just proof enough to prove what Mike is saying, that if just 10% of the same people would say no, it goes away.
Yep.
That's all it takes. And I think it takes 10% of us to come up and say, to give them some backing to do it. You know what I mean? To have our own activists, and I hate that word because it's been pejorativized or demonized or whatever, but to stand up just like Moms for Liberty is doing, right? Just like Gays Against Gr00mers is doing, just like Mike Harlow is doing, just like Colin Wright is doing, right? All of the people standing up and saying,
like James is doing,
yes,
and just like Mark is doing,
yes, and James Lindsay and SUiTABLE and all these people, right? It just says you will go no further. You know what I mean? Yeah.
It is crazy the things that they have been able to do just through the compliance of the majority. I mean, and there's going to be no accountability. I feel like the truth is kind of starting to slowly trickle out now about the mandates, about a lot of the COVID stuff. Fauci stepping down, but for what? For what? There will be no consequences. People, it still blows my mind that in my hometown, in my city where I'm from, I was segregated. And we're just going to like move on like nothing happened. Because everyone was somehow just okay with it.
Yes, and we just here's all the freedom. We can go to the drugstore, we can go to the liquor store, we can go to the strip club, but we can't go to the church. That's the other thing. It's like, and I think
that's deliberate.
Yes, it was, and I can actually prove that because there was and I'll be very short with this, but actually, SUiTABLE and I. If you go view her channel, there's an episode with us about this, but we went through this scientific study that the American Choral Directors Association, so the Choir Directors Association for America, the American Choral Directors Association, put out during COVID, and it justified it. It split things out, but it interpreted the data to be such, and actually the methods that it got to its data to make it look like singing a hymn was more dangerous than singing anything else. It was amazing. Like the aspiration levels or whatever it would be. Oh
my God.
Yes. And you can go watch the show. We explain it. Yeah. But and it was completely, I mean, SUiTABLE and I just showed it. It was just completely a crap study. They had some good methods, but it did not, it was not what they claimed it to be. And that's proof in the pudding. It's just proof in the pudding right there. But I digress because I want to get to our main story today, which who's been watching what's going on down in Keller, Texas?
And Oklahoma, and they're everywhere.
But this is stark. So Chad Prather on The Blaze ran this today. His one of his producers is a friend of mine on Twitter and was, hey, you need to look at this and talk about it a little bit. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to talk about it. And then me and Mike got in our little tiff and I was like, oh, this is going to be perfect.
Lovers quarrel.
Well, there's nobody better, I think, to talk about this, because I've heard you talk about this specific thing going back years. You just showed me the video today, right? And so things happen for a reason. So I'm going to just throw this up here and we're going to react. Okay. We're going to react to this. And I'm not going to say any more about it until after I show it. So hold on just one second. Let me put it up. Another trial drag show. So here we go. You everybody ready for this?
Isn't she beautiful?
Oh, isn't she lovely? Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Oh, Christ.
I don't. Okay. I'm sorry. I have to stop for a second. This kid is on the spectrum,
as they so often are.
Okay, so yeah, do you know a little bit about that? You could talk about,
yeah.
like, okay, talk to us about what why are we seeing this strange correlation between kids on the spectrum and drag shows like this?
I think because they're particularly vulnerable to that. I think, not everybody, but a lot of people on the spectrum will typically have like one particular interest or obsession. And this is an easy one to get them into. It's bright, it's shiny. And then once you get them, basically with the entire issue, not just the drag shows, all of it, LGBT people are being used as a delivery system for this ideology. These are a lot of people, when we talk about grooming, everyone immediately thinks that that's sexual. This is ideological grooming. This is a way to get children into this cult and turn them into members for life. And I think that amongst the groups that are being targeted, kids who are on the spectrum of autism are some of the highest, as well as kids who would grow up to be gay. Little girls, because young girls, they particularly struggle with fitting in, and I'm sure the same goes with kids with autism. So we're just seeing them target the most vulnerable kids with this poison.
Yes, and that seems to be the mode in all facets, is that they look for people that they can either claim are weak and make them believe it, or people who legitimately are, right, and then just scoop them up. Yep. And then use, and here's what I like to say too, is that they're human shields.
Yes.
Right?
Well said.
They are human shields, because that's the diversity aspect of diversity, equity, and inclusion. James says that equity is the goal, diversity and inclusion are the mechanisms to get there. I would go one step further down to say that diversity is the shield. It's what says that you cannot say anything against us lest ye be a bigot, right? And so what they do is they grab their human shield through diversity and they hold them up in front of them and say, okay, you can't, my politics are this person's identity because I've wiped them clean, right? And here's the identity and they are my shield. And if you say anything against them, against my politics, you're hurting their identity. And that's the main part of the grift. Would you agree?
Oh, yeah. And that's why they're so threatened by gay people, transgender people, black people, any one of their little groups that they seem to think they have some ownership of. That's why they're so threatened by it, because if we can divorce LGBT people from this perception that it's the same thing as having this ideology, it falls to pieces. Because, I mean, imagine if they didn't have LGBT, particularly gay people, to latch onto. First of all, that's a whole other subject, LGB and the T. I mean, talk about forced teaming, because there's no commonality. So it's funny because the T is already forced teaming with the LGB, and then the ideology is forced teaming with the T, who's forced teaming with the LGB. I forgot what my point was with that, but so if you took LGBT out of it, particularly gay out of it, they would be nowhere. Imagine if you just said totally separately from that, we're going to give hormones to 10-year-olds. We're going to give double mastectomies to 12-year-olds. And they weren't able to say, oh, because gay rights, because trans, whatever. They would be laughed out of the country. But it only works, oddly enough, because the vast majority of people are not homophobic, are not racist. The vast majority of people are very accepting. So a lot of them become useful idiots for this.
It looks like they're saying flowers against Steffrey. Hello,
Hey,
hello,
Tina.
hello. I don't know. I know I'm not supposed to do that yet because I'm new to super chats, but I'm just loving everybody being here and commenting. So please super chat if you want to. If you don't want to, awesome. I'm still going to throw up because this is a great conversation. And again, I'm new to super chatting, so that's a reason to super chat. Just put that out there. But you're spot on. You're spot on with this. But so I'm just going to continue this video real quick and let it play for a little bit until there's something else that we cannot stand. Okay. This is in Keller, Texas. And he's emulating, you see it? Oh my goodness. Okay, so they're throwing money at them. They're dancing on a table in a super short skirt, right? Even though they may have Spanx on. And it's right in that girl's face. It's right. I don't understand the parents here.
And this one, it's the best day of his life.
Okay, so can I make a point here? I'm going to make a point here. Oh, and I want to look at fingernails or even at that. Okay, but here's the point.
It's always the people you don't want to see making out that are sticking each other's tongues down their throats.
Right, but
you're middle-aged. Go home. No one wants to see that.
Even straight people, okay? The PDA is a thing, right? You know what I mean? It's like I wouldn't stand out with my wife and do that in front of a public place. You know what I mean? It's provoking. And here's the other thing about this that we'll highlight in a minute. I'll show you some pictures of it. But Antifa had showed up, right, and was guarding them because there were so many. Now, I from what I can gather, from what I've heard from the reporting of it, there was no real reason. There was just a preemptive, well, these are victims, so we're going to show up in all black uniforms and be Antifa to protect. Obviously, these two men don't need protecting. But and again, why show this to kids?
First of all, this would have scared the shit out of me if I was a kid. They're terrifying.
Right. It reminds me. It's like when I was a kid, I was scared of clowns. Same. Were you?
Are you afraid of the dark? Traumatized.
Yes. Or it.
Yes.
Like I was scared to death of clowns. And that's the thing. You like it or not, this is an objectively verifiable fact. Drag queens look like clowns. Like they're made to look like caricatures, right?
Get on your mask, lady! Get on your mask, lady!
Oh my goodness.
Aren't they lovely?
So there was some anger.
She's beauty and she's great. She's Miss United States.
And again, it's designed to provoke too. That's the other part of this.
And for nothing else.
Yes. And it's just like that
indoctrination.
In that story I told at the beginning with that teacher, she knew the first day that she was coming in. She had no intention of teaching the rest of the year. Right. There are other details I could show for that. Go find my video on it. It's the media lies for teachers, what it's called, but you can go find it on my channel. And I basically lay out all the circumstantial and direct evidence that shows she had no intention. First of all, she had every intention of sending her kids porn, links to porn. And then she had no intention of teaching. Her only intention was to be a martyr and to lay herself down and then take all the money that comes in. Right. She was designed. That's what she designed it.
Go fund yourself, lady.
Yeah, I mean, and so there's a. I'm gonna get out of this for a second. There's a part of the video I want to show, and again, I'm sorry I'm slow at this. I'm learning, but there's another tweet here I want to show of the actual teachers talking. Let me find it. Let me find it. Here it is. So this is an actual teacher at the event, and she actually says the quiet parts out loud. And I want Mike to talk about this when we get after the teacher says what they say, because I think he's going to have some good things to say about it. Here we go. Oh.
I bet none of them.
Well, I'm a teacher at Keller ISD, and they've taken over our school board, and they're trying to pull any LGBTQ book off of the shelves in the library, anything about marginalized peoples at all. And their goal is to shut down critical thought. It really is. They're fear mongering. They don't even know what they don't know.
I bet none of them ever been to a drag show before.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Like pure entertainment, and it's been in the culture, like it's Saturday Night Live, Bugs Bunny. Like we've been watching drag shows as comedy and as expression for forever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
they just want to hate.
Yeah, that's all that they have. I know a lot of these people are teachers from our district.
So there's a lot of teachers there.
Just fighting for the rights for these students to be able to learn and have access to material that represents them.
Thank you so much.
Well,
I mean, someone needs to do it.
I mean, it's going to take a village, but we're doing it.
Okay, so let's just unpack it from here. What are your thoughts here, Mike? You just go.
It's the plausible deniability that I love. Okay. Oh, well, it's just drag queens. We've been watching drag queens forever. Is that it's like when they compare this to Mrs. Doubtfire, which is insane. The problem for me, it's not even the issue, because I've really had to kind of look within myself to be able to verbalize why do I find this so horrible, and I kind of had to think about that a bit, because I do. And it reminded me of, I feel like this isn't something we hear about so much anymore. But when I was a kid, they kind of taught little kids about stranger danger.
Yeah.
Don't get in the van. It seems like that's been done away with. So I remember there was this video when I was a kid in school in the 90s. They made us watch this video of Winnie the Pooh singing about not okay touching. And don't let anyone touch you, which of course I laughed my ass off at the time. But now I'm like, you know what? Good for you, Pooh. But I remember distinctly something that he said when he was talking about Winnie the Pooh, talking about molestation. He said, "It feels wrong because it is wrong." That is how I feel about this. It feels wrong because it is wrong. And it's not even that you see her legs or whatever. It's like I said, this is a delivery system for an entire belief system to get them into one that leads to a horrible path of suicidality, of hormones, of surgeries by the time they're 12 or younger.
And all done in the name of love and affirmation, right? And I was talking to Adam B. Coleman. I put out a show today with him. It was a awesome guy. He's a New York Post author.
Oh, I love him.
Yeah, he's amazing. And he was talking about fatherhood. He was talking about being a dad, and he hit on a point. He said, sometimes my son would ask for a cookie, and I would just not give him a cookie, for no other reason than just to not give him the cookie sometimes, right? Because you want to teach him discipline and a saying no kind of thing, and not overreacting to that. Right. But it's also, he was said, there's the aspect of discipline where you have to say what you want is not good for you. Right. And what you feel, if Mike, and this is and I am one of the first people to say this, and at least that I've seen, because I said it in an argument I had, I don't know, it was 3 years ago before COVID. And that we got into a conversation about gender stuff at a class that I was in. And I said, would you have your kid, if your kid wanted, I don't know, a back tattoo, say, of Donald Trump, if your 8-year-old, your 12-year-old wanted a full back tattoo of Donald Trump, right? And because they love Donald Trump so much, would you affirm that behavior and take them to get the full back tattoo? Is that what you would do? No, because you would, one, you have a bias against Donald Trump, one. So let's use one you don't have, Mickey Mouse, right? No, you're not going to have your kid mark and scar their body for the entirety of the rest of their lives because of the way that they feel at the moment when they're 8, 10, 12, or even 16 or 17.
Mark, let me tell you the perfect analogy for why no kids should be transing. When I was 16, I used a fake ID to get a Green Day tattoo. Oh. That is how capable children are of making informed decisions about their body. Oh, and that was 16, not 10, not 11, not, I mean, God, some of these kids identifying are younger than that even.
Well, I think
it's more insidious than that because you have infants who are being lied to. They call them babies, that you have infants where their parents are lying to them, not telling them what their biological sex is, and giving them issues that they would never otherwise have. And that's why I think this is a difficult issue, because it's one that's difficult to legislate. I mean, you can and you should, but the fact is, these people are there voluntarily. I don't know that this is something that you can, that there is a law that you can do anything about. So that's why, to go back to what I was saying before, I think the most important thing above all is mass non-compliance and people being very vocal and saying no, because so many of these horrible parents do this out to keep up with the Joneses. That's what they like, to be the good liberal and the most progressive. So if there were a wide social stigma against that, you'd see how quickly a lot of them wouldn't take their kids, how quickly a lot of them would change.
Yes, and that's why I think John McWhorter and James and lots of people have said that this operates just as a religion. It's a moral value system that is actually destructive. And this is where Colin Wright has really done amazing work, is talking about just the science behind what they're saying, to prove the science behind what they're saying being wrong in terms of what you think in your mind affecting the outside and the down to the cells in your body. You can't change that just because you feel a certain way, right? And you can't, an anthropologist, if they find you 10,000 years from now, 1,000 years from now, they're going to find your skeletal structure and call you, if they're doing science correctly, right? If they're going to call you male or female, right?
Yeah. And oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, even if a kid turns out to be transgender or whatever, why the need to medicalize it right away? Why? And I've never heard an argument about that. The only one I've heard is, they'll look better. So you are willing to risk destroying your child's life for aesthetics?
Yeah, right. That's it. Yes, it's like, so you can look. Here's the other thing. I
mean, I think people like Blair look pretty good for transitioning as an adult.
Right. But here's
basically what I've come to is that adults transitioning, even with adults, safe, legal, and rare is what I think. It's happening too much now.
If you're over 18, you go do you. You know what I'm saying? That you can do with your body what it is to an extent, as long as it's not hurting anyone else. Now, the doctors that do it, here's the thing, and that's what I was getting ready to say, is that kids, you wouldn't take your kids to get a boob job at 12. Like they're taking them to do mastectomies, right? You wouldn't do that. And if you would, there's something wrong with you. I think that something I like to point out is that this is Munchausen syndrome by proxy.
Transhausen.
Yes. And what you see often is the parent just feeding off of this virtue, and you see them on TikTok, and then look at my, look at me and my kid, and what we're doing is so brave, and these kids were mean to them today, or whatever it would be. Kids are mean to everybody all the time. That's the thing too. It's like it's ingrained in you to test your peers, right? And I've heard Brett Weinstein talk about this. I've actually called that's a part of the evolutionary process of just testing your surroundings, and you can't really breed or push that out of kids completely, especially the younger ones.
And it is so horrible. I don't understand how anyone is possibly okay with this. I think, you've a kid on the way. God, if I had kids, I would warn them about this the way you would warn them not to get in the van. To anyone watching this who has kids, protect your children from this. It has absolutely nothing to do with gay rights, acceptance, equal love, right? It has nothing to do with any of that. It is poison. It is a cult. It is destroy. And, they say, oh, listen to trans people, listen to their voices. How about all of the detransitioners who are coming out and talking in very heartbreaking, graphic details about how their lives were destroyed, their bodies were destroyed. This is not reversible. That's the thing. These kids are being lied to by doctors. Every institution has been corrupted by this.
Mike, I thought you could just push the pause button.
Oh, I can't.
But no, please. I was told by a doctor. I saw this on What Is a Woman? She said you could just push pause with the hormone blockers and things and the puberty blockers. Is that not the case? I thought you could just push pause.
Gee, who would have known? It's so sick.
When you use a chemical to castrate someone, and then you say that, because that's what some of these chemicals do. They've used in the past as chemical castration, and then you use them on children. Do you think they have some special kind of force field that blocks that from being able to happen to them?
And it's a much bigger problem too. Like I said, this is really just sort of an entry point for kids because it's a very tantalizing one. Kids want attention. When you shower them with this, when they see their friends who are changing genders and they're little kids, and they see adults showering them with attention, reward, attention, validation, attention.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think they're going to do? So I think a lot, a friend of mine, her name is Megan Fox. She's a journalist, and she's done amazing work with this, where she talks about she's
not the one who drinks blood, right?
No, I wish.
Okay.
Talk about being on my exception list.
Yeah.
I mean, this Megan is very sexy too.
Yeah, okay.
But no, she talks about with her kids different steps that she's taken to prevent them from getting sucked into it. Like, she has a young boy who was like wanting to wear his sister's dress and stuff. And she was like, no, that's not what you want. You just want to play dress up. So she got him like a king's outfit with the crown, and he loved that and never wanted a dress again. So I feel like you need to find kind of creative ways to combat this.
Right. Well, and you can take this back. I am a Christian, so you're going to get that kind of viewpoint from me. But you can find this same proverb in all wisdom texts from across cultures. But it's train your child in the way that they should go when they're young, and when they are old, they won't depart from it. And that was a wisdom talking about the science of the mind as a child. Right. And, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just saying, if this were 10, 20 years ago and I had kids or something, and I had a little boy who was like, I want to wear a dress, I'd be like, great, cool, express yourself. Not now. Not with the pressure that they're going to be under and be told, oh, you're a little girl. And I know, because I'm somebody who 100%, if I were growing up today, there's no doubt in my mind I would have been targeted by this. I would have been told I'm a they, them. I would have been told I'm some sort of trans, just because of the clothes I like to wear. That's how superficial this ideology is. It is literally skin deep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I saw an article, I think, from the Lesbians Association of America, something like that, the other day. That they had done some studies, and they wrote a great article or a letter that said that a majority, based upon the study that they had were citing, at least, that a majority of these kids or these girls, if they're either tomboys or they're lesbian. Right. They and so that's the thing about this. When they put the L, the G, and the B with the T and the Q and the I and the A and the 4 and the 7, 8, 12, right, is that they're wiping all of those identities clean so they can inject the politics. Right.
Yeah.
And that's why they group them. Right. And I think that's what Gays Against Groomers is, why they're so popular now, is because they and why you have gained a following, and why you see so many of these lesbian or gay or detransitioners gain a following in this fight, is because you're voicing what I think a vast majority of your sexual orientation, if that's still okay to say, actually think. Right?
Yeah, like I said, it's the problem is that I think more of them aren't more vocal about it. But I mean, I will never forgive these people for the fact that for so many years there were all of these horrible stereotypes about gay people in particular. They want to recruit your kids. They want to do that. There were all of these things that I feel weren't true. Now they've made them true. I just never imagined that that would happen. And it really goes to show in particular the difference between gay acceptance and this trans agenda, because people being accepting of gay people, or even if they don't want to be, like, it really requires nothing of another person. I'm going to be in a relationship with whatever consenting adults I would like to. That requires nothing of another person. But with trans mania, it requires everything of you. You have to validate it. Their entire life rests on your shoulders. We have to change the English language. We have to change biology. It's all about remaking society in their image, which isn't an image of 0.5% of the population. It's just an entry point into a bigger agenda. And I think the way that this fits in also with everything, particularly the last 2 years of the pharmaceutical companies, these are things this is not only happening in relation to gender. I mean, for years now, we drug 5-year-old boys up for the crime of acting like 5-year-old boys.
Yeah. Well, and that is definitely true. In my work as an educator and just my own research there, and this is where I wanted to have Adam on the other day and is that there was an attack on men and boys in the schools, and just the whole nature of being masculine has been demonized to the extent that it's incentivizing kids to want to go that direction, right? That's the thing, and I call this, people say slippery slope. I don't really like that term because, one, they're trying to say that that's a logical fallacy, but what isn't is stacked incentives, right? If you incentivize this as, by saying this will get, if you are white, cisgendered male, all of those things that are historically, oppressive, then all you have to do to get out of that is adopt this mindset, this identity, take on our erasure, virtue signaling way of doing things, and then you have redemption, and the work is never done, but you can at least gain some redemption in society, and that just stacks the incentives to keep going that way, because nobody wants to be the person who's laid on the altar, right, of critical thought. And that's one thing I wanted to bring up here too, is that this teacher earlier in this thing, she talks about they want to end critical thought, right? And we hear that they want to shut down critical thought. They've hijacked that word right out from under you, just like they did racism, just like they did, a lot of different words over the course of this battle. But what they mean is adopting that neo-Marxist or Marxist identitarian thought process. And that's why this isn't really about race. It's not really about identity. Diversity is the shield, right? Diversity is the shield.
It never has been about it.
It's just so scary to me to see this kind of thing, where you have the kids and you're harming. Hold on, I don't want to. This is Antifa. This is what I wanted to show you here. So the Antifa is actually wrapped around, and they were afraid. I guess the reporters there. Shout out to Chris Cruz who shouted this out to me to show, and the Chad Prather show, and they did a great show on it today. Go watch. They actually had Sarah Gonzalez and the people who were there as correspondents, and put on their hats and everything to make sure that. But there was some concern there was going to be some violence at that point, but I digress. And there's a shorter video here. This is the one I wanted to show, I think, that just shows this is a woman, right? So can you explain this to me? What is the...
Wait, that's a woman? The drag queen is a woman?
That right there is a woman.
The fat one?
Yes.
What?
So explain this to me. If it's supposed to be a drag show, if drag is an art, can you define drag for me, Mike? Because I thought
it was men dressed as women, but now that I'm not a biologist, I don't know.
So I guess she could identify as a man, right? She could identify as a man.
Identifying as a man, identifying as a woman, identifying as a man.
dressed as a and that's the point though. But that's the point though. It's just to make your head spin and go, okay, I'm done. I'm done wasting time trying to wrap my brain around your contradictions. And I actually have real work and things to do, right? If you're a normal person. So I'm just going to let you go. But I think what I heard you say earlier is that we can't do that anymore, right?
Yeah.
We cannot.
No, and it really has to be. This is one thing that there are many things, unfortunately, as much as it pains me to say that the left is very good at, that we need to be better at. And one of them is they are all hands on deck. They have their hand in every pot, every jar, every group. They've taken over every entity in this country. We need to kind of do the same thing. So if you're in education, get a job in the schools, push these people out. And not to keep harping on the point, but I think enough people being unabashed and vocal and speaking up against this, there's no way that it can be so stigmatized.
Yeah.
As if this is something, I don't know how in the span of a couple of years, this became the most sacred cow in all of society, but
they weaponized empathy.
Yes.
That was it. I mean,
That's
they weaponized empathy because they actually took advantage of the fact that people aren't racist or bigoted on the whole. That American society up until, all the way through the aughts and through the early parts of the 2010s and all the way leading up to 2020, we had crossed a large part of the understanding that nobody thought it was virtuous to be bigoted towards anyone. You're always going to have people on the spectrum of things that still think that way, obviously. But that was an overwhelming majority of society was not a bigot. And even if you had your own thought in your own head, right, at any given point, we had socialized in a good way that's not something you do, right? And that was done through church. It was done through the schools. It was done through the teaching of Martin Luther King. It was done through just the idea that we're all common humanity, common human beings, right? And then they weaponized that empathy by, I think, grabbing the progressives, because progressivism progresses. It has no stop button. And so they grabbed them by the heart, so to speak, by the bleeding heart, and drug them over the line. And now what do? Now what do you do?
There's no end point. There's nothing that would be too crazy for these people. Abolish the police. Double mastectomies for 12-year-olds, hormones for children. Eat your cereal and your hormones, little Timmy.
Yeah.
Say there's nothing that's too crazy or too far for these people.
Right. Well, and I think what you hit on earlier is the only thing we haven't talked about. I'm going to let you go because I don't want to keep you all night. I could, because this is really fun. I will say this, but because this is the kind of time I haven't gotten to have on a podcast that much, just to talk and just bitch about this, because I think we need to, right? And people need to see us do it. But the stacked incentives of the monetary gain that's behind it, right? And we saw this with COVID and the drug industry.
Mm-hmm.
What possesses, and we've talked about, Munchausen syndrome, but now it's advertising, right? Now you're getting it in the advertising, you're getting it in the shows. And I'm an artist and I do art and, I do music. You're getting it in the choral music in schools. You're getting it in the television shows. And I think it was Local Distance that pointed this out in Pokemon, rightfully so, about how this, you implant
it's in Pokemon. I didn't see that.
Oh, you should look. I would go and find it, but I don't want to dig through Twitter online. But it's like they. Oh, I'm sorry. I just got you out of here. No, but the Local Distance did a thread on it, and they just talked about the seeds of it being planted, because it was very not overt, right? It was. And I can't come up with the details, so just go find Local Distance's Twitter page and you'll find it. Just look for the Pokemon. But the crux of it is that it has been injected little by slowly over time, over the last 20 or 30 years, because as James taught me and is taught, and as you've read, this is the long march through the institutions.
Sorry.
No, you go ahead.
You mentioned the slippery slope. My favorite Babylon Bee headline of all time was there is no slippery slope, says movement hurling down slippery slope at the maximum velocity. That's exactly what's happening.
Right.
And you know, to keep themselves in business, these people have to keep inventing new things. They're not going to just go away. Any TV show, even whether it's for adults or kids, that has any sort of gay character, something like that, they have representatives from all the oppression industry groups like GLAAD and the HRC right there in the writer's room telling them what they can say. So they just have to keep themselves in business by doing this. But what's scary is, what I wanted to talk about too.
Yeah.
So maybe I was wrong, but I've been saying this whole time that, like, I don't think that this is motivated by pedophilia. I don't think it's sexual. I think it's ideological grooming.
Mm-hmm.
And I still feel maybe like 75% that way. I think that's the majority of it. But I angered the normalized pedophilia people last week on Twitter. These people are insane. I'm like, maybe I was wrong. Maybe that's more of a factor in this than I thought.
Well, here's the thing. I think it leaves it open to become a factor, right? Because that's the thing. Even if it's not, I think the goal is to remove the child from the home. It's to remove the child from the family. That's the Marxist goal, the neo-Marxist, the identity Marxist goal. Because how do you break down a society and create utopias? You break down the family, right? And because that's the undergirding, that's the foundation of Western society, is a family. And you know, if you've read A Brave New World, you see the end of that process. And they did that largely by saying, okay, I had a teacher once that called it the rise of the child, that over the course of the last 30 or 40 years, the child has gained more and more prominence through economic factors, right? The music they choose as teenagers, the music they want, or the products they want, the toys. And now it's gone into... it has gone into the digital sphere with just Minecraft or YouTube or anything like that, that they've become such an economic force. It started there. And then now the way to get them the rest of the way out is to turn them into little adults.
Yes.
Right. And that's what I think that's why they're going lower and lower into the schools. They're targeting the lower and lower grades, because by the time you reach, you know, they can still get you, right? They can still get you as you get older. But only if your parents don't teach you how to think when you're younger. You know what I mean? And so I think that what it does is it opens up the door for that kind of community and those kind of predators to come in, just kind of like the T's and the Q's did, and take over the LGBT, right? You know what I mean?
And it shows how, God, I mean, if gay people in particular just exercised a moment of critical thought, just them calling everything queer, just the word queer, goes in absolute defiance of everything we've ever believed or wanted for all of time in terms of gay people. That being gay is just a normal, natural sexual orientation that's involuntary. I'm no better or worse than you, not just normal. And just look at the definition of the word queer. It means strange, weird. It means an other. It means mentally unbalanced or deranged is part of the definition. And that is literally what this community or this cult has become. And somehow people are okay with that.
Right. Well, and what they do say explicitly is that it's a rejection of anything that is normal. But here's the thing. It is also a rejection of anything that may become normal. So it never has a stopping point. The ideology does not have a break button, right? And so they will continue to bifurcate. They will continue to split the identities in half. It's like, why now they're attacking, you know, I think I saw by Steven Pinker, they're attacking the mother instinct, right? Just in women, and something that's objectively verifiable, but they will continue to bifurcate. They will never stop going half and half and half and half until they get to the fact that you cannot be a blank slate. You have to be a blank slate so we can insert the ideology, so that when you're attacked as a person, it's the ideology they're attacking, and then you conflate the two, and there's your cudgel. That's it.
And I think if you look into these people who say we need to destigmatize pedophilia, like we were saying, there's nothing that's too crazy for these people that they won't adopt. So it seems very clear that that'll be the next one, because it's always been the natural next evolution of this. I mean, if these people think that 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds can have a sexual orientation, why wouldn't they think they can be having sex? If they think that, that pedophiles, they ascribe this virtue to them, that, oh, they want help. If we're just nicer to them, they want you to see these people talking about this, like noted liberal YouTubers and stuff like that, who are rabid on this issue. And the fact that they are so rabid and passionate about this and only this when it comes to kids tells me that this is not about different philosophies of how to protect children, which they don't care to do in any other subject until you mention being extra nice to pedophiles.
Right.
And with all of it, their ideology, it's like an old Christmas sweater. You pull on one loose thread and the whole thing falls apart. So they say that, oh, if you're just real nice to pedophiles, they'll get help.
Right.
And they say it's a sexual orientation, which, by the way, also, if it's a sexual orientation, do non-discrimination laws apply to them? But also, if it's a sexual orientation, which it's not, I thought they didn't believe conversion therapy worked. But they want us to be nice to pedophiles so they can do conversion therapy?
Yes. And this is something I was one of the first people to say on Twitter that I could find. And I'm not going to say I was the first, but going back literally until very early 2021, because our mayor here in Oklahoma, what she did was she banned conversion therapy in the city of Norman, Oklahoma. And my first hit on it was this. It was, well, this largely isn't happening anymore, right? This is something that maybe you could have made a case for in the 90s or the early 2000s, where there were some abusive things going on in that realm, right? But again, by 2022, 2021, it wasn't happening anymore. And so, but I figured this out because that's when SEL was really starting to get pushed, and you were starting to figure out what that was, or I was at least. Okay, I'll just speak for myself. I know there were people who were well ahead of it than me, but on that issue. But I just spun it on them, and I saw them freak out. I said, "Wait a minute, you just banned conversion therapy. If you conjoin queer theory or gender theory with SEL, that is woke conversion therapy. That's what that is."
Well, and also, this is what they've done in Canada, where they outlawed conversion therapy. But they're redefining conversion therapy. So, and this goes back to the forced teaming with the Qs and the Ts, that they're calling anything other than allowing little kids to transition, that's now conversion therapy. So then the next step is to ban conversion therapy. Even just in Canada in particular, where they passed this, even for a therapist to just try and question a kid about if they're really transgender, like figure out what's actually going on, that's now considered conversion therapy.
Yeah.
So
it only goes
how they always weaponize legitimate concerns and then twist it and pervert it beyond recognition.
That's right. Well, and it's always one way. And I say this a lot, but unreciprocated empathy or unreciprocated empathy is not a virtue. It's manipulation. Right. That's what it is. It has to be, empathy has to be a two-way street. That if it's not, you're just setting yourself up to be taken advantage of.
The idea that they are empathetic in any way is insane. Somebody said to me, I was so glad to finally hear one of them say, so I always say they have the same process. When you deal with enough of these people, like we've unfortunately had to, everything they're going to say before they say it. So whenever you mention this stuff about kids transitioning or surgery on minors, they sort of have like a 3-step gaslighting process. So step 1 is that's not happening. Outright denial. Step 2 is if that's happening, it's a good thing. And then step 3 is why do you care? Why don't you care is my question.
Right. Well, I care because my kids, it's my society, right? I mean, we all live here, right?
But I was so glad to finally hear someone admit this out loud. So this girl was arguing with me about, justifying surgery, double mastectomies and hysterectomies on children. I had said something about, well, what happens then when their life is ruined and they realize they're not transgender and they've cut off body parts? And she literally said, oh, well, choices have consequences. So that's the love and hope and empathy that these kids will get once their lives are ruined by these
Oh, did I lose you? Oh, I guess I lost Mike. I don't know why. Yes, I'm having issues. So hold on. If I hopefully he'll come back in. But I think he was saying that. Oh, here we go. Hold on.
Did they not like what I had to say?
I don't know. You just like got knocked out. I don't know what happened there.
I told you, I'm like, I might not be the best person to talk to once you're monetized.
Whoa, I'm not. Well, I'm fair.
Never had that happen.
You've never had that happen either.
It's never happened before, baby. Just this once.
Okay, is this really Carrie here? Carrie, are you in here? It doesn't exist.
I can't believe this other loser.
Is this really Carrie here? Is that Carrie? Is that really
Jackson's? There's like other people pretending to be people. I can't believe the loser.
Yeah, well, we were having. There was just a lot of. If that is you, Carrie, hello. I don't know. We need a code word or something. But there was somebody in here, the flower something or another, that was just spamming the whole chat, and so I just put them on a 5-minute timeout. So
life with a stalker.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't want to. I don't want to cast aspersions. I don't know who it was, and you can. I can't control your speech, but I don't know who it was. So this is one of my first. Okay, and
not important enough to.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. This is my very first monetized. My very first. So
I'm honored that I'm.
And Mike is you're my first. You broke my cherry.
It's been a while.
Yeah, I know. But I think what you were saying as you got kicked off by the I don't know, the FBI or something, was that these are people who are targeting people. They're targeting kids, and they're going to go lower and lower, and they just won't stop. Right.
And that there will be no love and empathy and tolerance once their lives are ruined is basically what I was saying. You'll see where none of these alphabet groups will be there. None of these teachers will be there. None of these people will be there for support. Oh, hey, babe, I love you.
Hey, Carrie.
She's the best.
I love Carrie. Thank you.
Me too.
Carrie. She's had me on our show. So thank you. Yeah.
She's amazing.
Okay. She is. Oh, I don't know what I hit here. So okay, but yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, just there will be none of that. Like they are butchering children, destroying their lives, and then saying, "Oh well, choices have consequences." It's insane that we are allowing this. It is insane.
It is, and what I think if there's a message at the end of this, and I know. See, we have to have our time to gripe about it, but I think the message is that if you don't believe that this is good, which you shouldn't, but if you believe that this is destructive to kids, then you actually have what Thomas Jefferson would call a responsibility to posterity, right? And this is what the generations before us have. You can go back as far as the founding, or before or after, as far as long as you want. That there was more of a thought about what's coming into the future. And I think that if we got out of our own, 2-inch viewpoint and looked beyond where we're going to go, and saw what this could do in the long term, then I think that you would have more people with the courage to stand up to this. And I know it took me a while. It took us all a while, but there are more people now. There are people like Mike. There are people like Carrie. There are people like me. There are people like James and Colin and Gays Against Gr00mers and all these people that are providing you a place of support. And if you get attacked, there are people you can go to now. There are organizations that will help you. There are people that will take their time, often for free, to provide you with the connecting with people that can help you legally and mentally and all of those things. So I think if there's a moral to this podcast, the not suitable for children, this is going to be a running thing for me. So this is what now a title of one of my shows is Not Suitable for Children. Okay. And Mike is my first guest. And so I want to thank you for being here, Mike. You
Thank you
have
for
been
having me. This was
an
amazing.
amazing guest.
Aw.
And can you tell us where we can find you? Tell everybody where we can find you, where they can follow you, and give yourself a good plug.
Yeah, I have a YouTube channel that's my name. It's been a little bit barren, but I'm working on focusing on it. I'm going to be doing more live shows and longer videos and stuff. It's sort of like a poo-poo platter of insanity. I'll do serious videos and then I'll do stupid ones like drunk history of the Halloween franchise. So I try to keep myself sane by like balancing. It's honestly my goal for our country and everything to get to a point where I never have to talk about politics again. That is my wish in life. Anyway, so yeah, I'm gonna start doing more YouTube stuff. I'm doing these like Mark showed before. I'm doing like sort of little short fun videos on my Twitter and Instagram. So Instagram is sleepyharlow_. Twitter is not Mike Harlow because I was banned for so long. I had to be not Mike Harlow, but I am Mike Harlow again, possibly, allegedly, maybe. I don't know. We'll see
it
how
depends
long
on how you're identifying at the time, right?
Yeah.
Because you could identify as not Mike Harlow, and then it's just
and then they'll just be bigots if they ban me.
Yeah, that's right. You do you, right? Yeah, and that's it. Well, I can't thank you enough for being here. I can't thank
you so much for having me. This is amazing. And James, wherever you are, we love you. And
James,
we're getting your account back. I'm determined.
Yes, and that's something. James deserves his account back. He does, and I'm not going to stop beating that drum because the only reason anybody's seeing me right now is because he had the kindness and took the time to help pull me out of the shadows and say, hey, you got to stand up and do this. And so I may be a bit of an ass about it sometimes, but we're not going to forget James Lindsay. We're not going to forget James Lindsay. Okay, that's what I'm saying. So, but to everybody,
have like a useless skill for beating permanent bans. So if I could like help him beat his, that would be like I could die happy.
Yes. Well, and you gave out some advice. I'm going to make sure he gets it. But if you like what I brought you tonight, if you like the stuff I'm bringing you, obviously you're here. If you do, please like, subscribe, share the video, hit the bell so that you can know when I'm coming online and can have some fun with us, or just, I've got some good interviews coming up, some exciting ones, some big ones. So stay tuned to that. And Mike, thank you so much for being here. Everybody, thank you so much. We'll see you later.